We're here back from Vegas and back in the Fantasy Bar week 2, ready to go. 6 guys fresh off the tap for you on FanDuel and DraftKings, and we are going happy hour. 6 guys for you, 5 of them 6,500 or below on DraftKings, including a 3-man stack. I'm looking at some running backs in some great spots here this week. A value wide receiver, I think, is in a smash spot, and a beast of the week, I think, bounces back in a massive way in a great matchup. Who we talking about? Only one way to find out. Belly up to the Fantasy Bar. Welcome in, guys. Week 2 edition Beers Daily Fantasy 6-pack. As you may hear in my voice, a little bit under the weather, but couldn't miss the Fantasy Bar and the Week 2 content. Want to get you the picks you need here. We are back. Thank you, as always, for stopping by and hanging out here in the Fantasy Bar. Before we get to the plays, the housekeeping, the thumbs up button, very important. Let's see if we can beat last week. Guys did a great job with that. Only takes a second. This content is free. All we're asking in return is that. Subscribe to the channel and check us out over at scoresandodds.com/beer. Well, I'll be giving you some of my favorite NFL bets each and every week, along with all the other great contributors giving you that information. Great spread, total, line movements, everything you need over there. Check it out. That link in the description of the video. All right, week 2, always fun, always overreaction theater. But I think there's a lot of great value on this slate. Let's start with some of that value at running back with Rashad White of Tampa Bay. I think this is one of those spots people are going to overreact to. Didn't really get it done. Did get a lot of touches, and that's what I'm focused on here against the Chicago Bears. 19 touches last week against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, we just saw DeAndre Swift go nuts against this defense. So a little bit of a ding there for Rashad White, but we also saw Aaron Jones go crazy against the Chicago Bears last week. Bears bottom 3 in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, fantasy points allowed, pretty much every category against running backs last season. So I think White continues to see a nice workhorse load. Price is fair in the mid-range, and ownership likely lower than it should be here this week at home against the Chicago Bears. All right, quarterback up next. We are going with Jared Goff of Detroit. So we don't spend a ton of time talking splits in the NFL. The season is just too short, but the splits here for Jared Goff were just eye-popping home and away. The numbers at home simply much better than what he was on the road. This guy averaged almost 275 yards passing per game at home last season, over 2.5 touchdowns per game as well. And this game last season, we know, 48-45, an absolute shootout. Don't think we get 93 points like we did last season, but I do think we get some scoring here. I do like the over in this game. Goff, 378-4 in that game last season against Seattle. Rams just put 30 on Seattle in their house, 334 yards for Matthew Stafford. Now Seattle has to hit the road and play an offense that plays better at home, a quarterback that plays better at home, and a fan base that is absolutely ready to rock here with high hopes for this season. Add it all up, Jared Goff, my favorite quarterback here for week 2. All right, we like Jared Goff. Who we like compared with? Amon-Ra St. Brown. Too easy. We're going wide receiver, Josh Reynolds. So Value Town continues here. I don't dislike Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think there's a lot of ways that you can stack this Detroit offense, but Josh Reynolds looks way too cheap to me, especially over on DraftKings, way down at 3,700, and it'll give us a different look from what a lot of people are going to do with their stacks here this week. Very involved in the offense. Love to see it. There's definitely an opening at that wide receiver 2 spot until Jameson Williams returns. 7 targets, 80 yards in that opening game against the Kansas City Chiefs. We know Goff, Reynolds go way back to their days with the Rams. Nice 81% route participation last week, 32% air yards, led the Detroit team last season. Price has not caught up here. Josh Reynolds, one of the best value options on the board for week 2. All right, we're not done. We're going with the triple stack here. We're going with tight end Sam Laporta. As you can see, I'm very high on Detroit this week, and I love the value here. Again, a lot of people are going to go Goff. I'm on St. Brown, maybe one of these 2 guys. We go both of these guys with Goff. Going to really open some things up to spend and give us, again, a different look from what everyone else is building there. But nice value here at tight end. Anytime you can go cheap and get them with your quarterback, makes a lot of sense to go that route if you don't have anyone that you're spending up on. Even with a guy like Travis Kelce, expect him back in the lineup. I think going cheap at tight end on DraftKings can really pay off here. Another guy that was productive on the cheap for this Lions offense. 83% of the snaps, 72% route participation for Laporta. And Seattle, a matchup we are going to continue to target with tight ends. Didn't work out for us last week, but going right back to the well here. Second most receiving yards, second most fantasy points allowed. Love Sam Laporta and the value here against Seattle. All right, let's get out of Detroit. but we'll stay with the value at wide receiver in Nico Collins of Houston. Now, Collins looked very impressive in week 1. This offense didn't do much on the road in Baltimore, but we saw 11 targets for Nico Collins, so cementing himself as that wide receiver 1 here for the Houston Texans. Did turn in 80 yards receiving, and price feels a little bit low here as well. I think it's a nice buy low. Feels more like a 6K player. We're getting him under 5K here on DK, but a lot of good signs for Collins. First read from CJ Stroud, a third of the time it was Nico Collins. 26% target share, very healthy, and a ton of air yards, 64%, and a lot of unrealized air yards as well here. Could have been an even bigger day. Colts struggled big time with Calvin Ridley, with Zay Jones. I think Houston makes some noise here. I think Nico Collins has a big day here in week 2. All right, it's time. Take a look at my favorite play for week 2. Before we do that, let's continue our Beast of the Week contest. Very easy to play. Click that thumbs up button and head to the comment section and guess fantasy points on FanDuel this week for my Beast of the Week. Whoever's got the closest guess, you're going to win a free week of RotoGrinders Premium just for hanging out in the fantasy bar. All right, let's wrap it up here for week 2 before my voice gives out with my favorite play. You know, Matt's the Beast of the Week. All right, Beast time. We owe you one more running back. We've saved in a lot of spots so we can spend up here on Saquon Barkley of the Giants, this week's Beast of the Week. I thought Christian McCaffrey a little bit too easy in this spot against the Rams. Love him as well, but I really like targeting the New York Giants here this week. It couldn't have gone any worse. Last week at home against the Cowboys, get shut out 40-0. Just an absolute disaster here. I think a lot of people are going to take a hands-off approach with the Giants. Whether it's Barkley or likely the more popular Daniel Jones with some pass catchers pairing, I think the Giants, a smart way to look here this week against Arizona. Before we get to the matchup, another little split nugget here for you. Barkley was great on the road last season. Every single game, all 7 that he played, 15 or more DraftKings points, 19 or more in 5 of those games, and did show a ceiling as well with games of 27 and 36. Cardinals, great matchup for the running back position. Bottom 4 in pretty much all of the categories that we can look at. Rushing touchdowns, receiving yards, receptions, fantasy points, and they did give up the most receiving touchdowns to the running back position as well. Giants dealing with some offensive line injuries. I think Barkley going to get some dump offs, some screens, some quick passes from Daniel Jones, and have a massive day in Arizona. Saquon Barkley, easily my favorite play on the board in this week's Beast of the Week. All right, guys, that'll do it for week 2 here in the Fantasy Bar. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or feedback, hit me up in that comment section right below the video. Don't forget, fantasy points on FanDuel for Saquon Barkley. Whoever's got that closest guess, we're going to give you an absolutely free week of RotoGrinders Premium. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut, guys. Best of luck this week. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist